Okay, so once we're into Photoshop, one of the first most important things we're going to learn about is these selection tools. We talked about tools in the toolbox, different tools for different jobs, different tools to accomplish different things. These three tools, what they're each trying to accomplish is selecting an area of your canvas or an area of your project. And there are different ways to select different areas depending on what you're trying to do. So the three types of selection tools, which we're going to really hammer into your head here, are color-based selections. That's when the area or the thing you're trying to select is all the same color. This is a really convenient tool. This is the magic wand tool. You've got geometric selections. If something is perfectly round or perfectly square or perfectly rectangular, this is a great tool to use. However, in real life, it's not often that you get things perfectly geometric. And then your last one is your freehand selections, and this is for everything that's not those other two. If everything isn't the same color, or if everything isn't perfectly geometric, you're going to go to your freehand selections tool. So the three main tools that you're going to look at are your magic wand, your marquee tool, which for geometric selections, and your freehand selections will be some sort of lasso tool. So just know these. So once again, Photoshop is so powerful, and you need to be very specific with it. You can't just say, hey, change the color on this. You always have to make sure that you are selecting the area and say, change the color on this, or move this, or whatever it might be. So let's jump into each of these tools individually. First, with the color-based selections, you've got your magic wand tool. It looks like this in your toolbox. You can always just go over and click on the magic wand, or you can hit the W key and that will automatically bring it up. That's one of those shortcuts that we've talked about. Once you select the magic wand tool, you will see that the tool menu bar will change. It will look like this. And one of the big things to keep an eye on with your magic wand toolbar is tolerance. So what is tolerance? I'm about to give you a great textbook definition of what is tolerance. Tolerance sets the sensitivity of the amounts of pixels affected in comparison to the initial pixel selected. That's great. That's great. What does that mean? Basically, it just means the amount of pixels that look similar. So when your tolerance is low, it's going to be very specific and very precise as to the area that you select with that magic wand tool. As the tolerance goes up, the sensitivity is down a little bit, so you're going to get more variations on that color. And with tolerance, you'll get anywhere from a 0 to 255. But once again, what does this mean? What does this mean? Let's go to Photoshop and talk. Here we've got a rubber ducky, right? If I want to select rubber ducky in his entirety, I can maybe do that. I don't know. But again, I have to tell Photoshop, like, hey, I want to play with this. I want to do this thing. So once again, we go over here to our magic wand tool. We can see it. Or I can always just hit the W key. I'm over here. I'm going to hit the W key, trust me. And now you can see the magic wand tool has changed. So maybe I want to select the rubber ducky in his entirety. So I click up here. Now I'm getting some pixels, but not all pixels. So this isn't really super helpful. So I look up and I see my tolerance is 25. That's reasonably low, right? So first things first, I want to deselect this area that I've got. So if I hit Command D or Control D, now that area has gone away. So maybe I'll take this up to, I don't know, we'll call it 70. And maybe now I'll select some rubber ducky. Now you see I've gotten a lot more rubber ducky, right? It's not just this little area here. It's a lot of what's going on around here. It's not everything though. So right now my first thought is the magic wand isn't the best choice for the rubber ducky. So I'm going to show you something else really quickly so that I can grab this and we can keep moving on. But first, before I click on anything else or go anywhere else, I've got this selected. I need to deselect. That is Command D or Control D. Now, just to make this a little bit easier, let's just get his bill, right? So I click that, and now I've got his bill. I just clicked anywhere in this red. Since my tolerance is 70, it's getting the whole thing. Really quick, I'm going to deselect and take it down a little bit just to see if this works with a low tolerance. Click here. No, not at all, right? See, I turned my tolerance down, and now I'm only getting pixels that are kind of this color, or pixels that are kind of this color, or pixels like that. So what, again, I need to do, deselect first, always deselect first, turn my tolerance up to about 50. I'm happy with that. Now if I click on the bill, now I've got pretty much all of it. Now if I want to like move it, I can do that. If I want to copy it, I can do that. if I want to change the color, whatever it is that I need to do or want to do, I can now do with that because I've got this area selected. Hopefully that all makes sense. So color-based selections, magic wand there. Next, we've got geometric selections. Like I mentioned earlier, these are selections that are perfectly geometric. Perfect circles, perfect squares, perfectly elliptical, whatever it might be. Sometimes you're not necessarily going to be sometimes you're not necessarily going to be selecting things. Sometimes you might be using these to create things. When we get into creating lower thirds and creating your own graphics, that's when the marquee tool really is the best maneuver. That's when the marquee tool is at its prime use for Photoshoppers, and especially broadcast Photoshoppers. So instead of selecting something, usually we'll create lower third graphics. We'll be creating those geometric shapes in order to fill them in or what have you. There you can see single column marquees. There you can see single row marquees. So back to Photoshop. If I'm still here with my rubber ducky, I go over here to my marquee. What I do now that I've got my marquee tool selected, right, there's nothing that's perfectly circular here for him. The eyes are kind of round, but not perfectly circular. You know, his head is kind of round, but it's not perfectly circular. But what I would probably do is maybe create a lower third graphic for this guy, and I'd create that. Now you can see this whole area is selected, and then, yeah, why not? Paint bucket, this. Now I create a lot of issues, and what a lot of the issues I've created are because I'm doing everything on the same background. I'm not creating new layers yet. So I don't really like what's going on here. I messed up. What can I do? You can always hit Command Z or Control Z once, and that will take you back one step. But another thing you can do, and this is another window, similar to the navigator window that we talked about, if you go in here and you go to History, and this shows like every move that I've made. And I wasn't a big fan of what I did to the paint bucket there, so I can just left click this, grab it, throw it in the trash, right? And now that thing's gone. Or even if I want to get rid of my marquee, I can go and grab that and throw that away, and now that thing's gone. And I like that that is a thing that happened. Now I can see where I went wrong. I can see every single move that I made with all the different magic wands. And if there's something that I don't like, I can get rid of. See, this lets me know that I duplicated the bill here. If I don't want that anymore, boom, that guy's gone too. So one of the big things is if you're making mistakes, I would ask that you keep your history tab open. That way I can check in on you and see what you've been up to, and we can figure out what you've done. This is another beautiful thing about Photoshop. So again, marquee tool, just creating things. Also, you've got hidden tools from time to time. What you see in your toolbox isn't all that you have, right? Sometimes tools hide underneath of each other in real life, and that's something that Photoshop does as well. So if I left click here, I can go to my elliptical, right? Now I'm making circles. Or I can hold down Shift and make some circles, and it's a perfect circle. Those are all in the same layer. We can move around together. Good times. But just know that there are things hiding underneath certain tools, and this is how you get to them. Lastly, we've got our freehand selections. To make freehand selections, you've got your 3 different options here. You've got your freehand lasso, your polygonal lasso, and your magnetic lasso. I'm going to tell you that more often than not, you'll be working with the magnetic lasso. This tool has come a long way in Photoshop. First of all, when I started Photoshopping back in the day, they didn't even have this thing. And then it showed up a few years back, and it was pretty good. Now it's kind of amazing. So more often than not, you'll be using the magnetic lasso, but in today's exercise, we're going to get you feeling out all of them, just to give you a feel for things, and so you understand that you have lots of options no matter what.